everyone. Today we got to play Corinth. So this is a dice rolling, right? But before we get into that, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because you want to know more about board games. But before we start talking about this particular game, Randy, can you tell us more about it?
I can. It is called Corinth. It's got a Board Game Geek rating of 6.8. It is currently ranked 1,664 on Board Game Geek. 2 to 4 players, average 20 to 30 minutes. I'm not sure ours took even that long.
Like 15 once we figured it out.
Yeah. Designer Sebastian Pachon. Artists are Julio Cesar and Cyril Daugin. Publisher, Days of Wonder. It's got an MSRP of $24.99, but most places are selling it for about $20. There was a copy on Board Game Geek that was a very good condition, supposedly for $8, so you can get it pretty cheap.
Yeah. So, quality of pieces for this game. You have dice.
Yes. They're not even really that. They don't feel, to me, they feel odd. They're like lighter than normal dice.
Well, and then they use diamonds instead of dots.
Yeah. Well, that didn't bother me, the artsy style of it or whatever.
No, I mean, that was fine.
They feel light. They don't feel like a heavy, standard weight dice.
You are correct. So it does make it feel kind of cheap. Whether they are cheap or not, I have no idea. But it does make it feel cheap.
And apart from that, you get the cardboard.
Yeah, which, I mean, it is starting to bend forward. Like, it is a little, it doesn't lay flat to the board. But it doesn't really impact the gameplay at all. And then you also have
this huge pad.
Yeah, this huge pad of paper for the roll and write. I do think it is kind of colorful. It got some yellow background or a beige background with different things. I mean, it's okay. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to this.
There's not even a lot of art. There's barely any art. The iconography is really what they're trying to do here. So let's, quality pieces wise, a 5. I can't give it any more than that. I mean, everything's adequate, but it's...
Yeah, I don't even know if it's a 5. I would probably give it a 4. I mean, there's just nothing to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It's not... It is. You can play the game with it.
Yeah, it's functional. Gets the job done, that there's nothing at all special about any of it.
Correct. All right, so moving on to theme, though. I assume that we're in a city.
It's a Roman city.
Okay, it's a Roman city, and I assume that you are having merchants that you're trying to sell product to?
The huge theme of this right here. A game of Corinth will let you live a few weeks in a harbor in the ancient world. Play the role of merchants delivering goods and goats and become the most well-known among your peers. That's it. That's the theme. So, not much to it.
Not a lot of art.
Nope, it is very basic. I can't give this more than a 4, I don't think either.
I kind of agree with that. The theme is.
Yeah. It's completely layered on. It has no reason to be that theme.
Yeah. And you don't even have art to back it up. I mean, sometimes we have some.
Yeah, I mean, the characters
themes,
are obviously.
I mean, it's not that it's bad. It's just that there's not enough of it. I mean,
yeah, there's not much.
And then there's the same picture for each of the, even on the, so it's repetitive.
Well, it's intended to be to mark.
Right, but yeah. So there's that. But let's. I mean, it is.
Yeah. So
moving on to rules. I mean, they were really straightforward.
Yeah. It is 4 pages long. I mean, the rules are very clear. I'll probably give these an 8 again by default, just because there's not much to this game. It explains the rules effectively. It's got diagrams, pictures to show you, but you really don't need them that much because, I mean, it's such a simple game. We'll go through and teach you how to play it right now because it's so simple.
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. The first player take...
First of all, it depends on number of players, but there's up to six rounds in the game.
Yeah.
And if you have...
4 if you have 4 or more.
If you have 4 players, not more. There's only a 4-player game.
Okay.
And if you have 2, then you have an extra... The player who's first player gets an extra selection, so that makes it 18... dice sets that you'll be able to pick. Whereas if you're playing 3-player, you would only get 3 times 6, so 8. Well, you get 8. You get
Math is hard.
Yeah, you get 6 rounds of play, and you'd only get 1 each. So you would get you get 1 from each player's turn. So it's still 18. It's 18 either way, and then 16 if it's like 6 times.
Math is hard.
Yes. 4 times 4 is 16. I knew it was 16. I was just trying to do the math. 4 times 4.
Really?
Yes. It's been a long day at work. I'm just a mathematician. That's all.
I'm dying over because normally you're like math instantaneous,
so
and he's struggling over
4
here.
players get 16 sets that they get to pick, and anything else is 18.
Okay. So, all right. So if you're the first player, you can choose. You take up all the white dice that are available for that game. Now, there are a couple of options. So there is a way to go on the board and gain gold dice.
Well, you don't have to go up there. You can pay gold for those.
Yes.
Okay.
I was getting there. Or you can pay gold to get these dice. And so depending on how much gold you get to play, you get to add these to your hand. So we'll roll them all. So the highest number, which typically will be a 6, will go up on the top. Your lowest will go down at the bottom, which in this case is 1. And then you move up from there. So 2, 3, but there is no 4. So instead we have to take the 5 and we put them in the next spot. So I'm glad I ended up rolling this where it's missing a die. So you don't actually have access to the Egyptian lady selling her spices. And then, as the first player, you get to pick as the rolling player, you get to pick your first choice. Now, the yellow dice, though, are only for you and nobody else. So if you choose not to use them, they will disappear for the second player. So understanding that. So in this particular case, I guess I will pick the 4 goats, okay? And I will mark them down on your section of the board. There will be a goat section, and you will circle 4 of those. If you use them throughout the game, you will mark an X. Now,
and you do start the game with 1 goat and 1 gold.
Yes. Now, you can choose the gold, and for each dice, you get a single gold. Or you can opt to choose some of the merchants. Now, those merchants will give you a particular, so we have what I believe to be spices, linen, pottery, and oil. So depending on which you pick, you get to claim those resources. But to mark them down, you're going to choose a building to build, and you're going to mark those off. You cannot build multiple buildings at once in the same row, just a single. But once that building is complete, you can move on to the next one. There are bonuses for completing all the buildings in a row. So doing that. The other option is okay, so everyone's taken their turn and you have a single dice left. Well, maybe you don't want this particular resource, so you may choose to use that resource to travel. So on your little map board here, you will, in this case, since the pip on it is 2, I get to move 2 spaces, right? And then I will stop at that location and gain that ability. Now, you do have to mark your travel path, because once you travel through, you cannot repeat and go through that space again. So being aware of traffic patterns may be important if this is your particular strategy for gaining resources. So you go through, and honestly, I think this is more of a constellation when you only have a dice choice.
Well, I mean, in this case, first of all, there's only 4 players again, so there would be 2 choices. But
I mean, if there wasn't.
Well, there would, yeah, I mean, you'd have to roll differently. But yeah, whichever you took, you're going to move through the spaces and mark whichever one you land on final. And then it is kind of a consolation, but there are 3 scoring positions on that track, and they're
but only based on how many circles you choose. And when you talk about a 6-player or 6-round thing, the most you're going to get out of that is maybe a 3 and another 4, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't get much value out of it. I got 3 points total out of mine, but I also got the yellow die as a permanent bonus.
So I mean, yeah, you got 2 yellow
two yellow dice, yeah.
So I mean, in that aspect, maybe at the very beginning, if you're a later player, that makes a lot of sense. But initially,
I think strategically, it might have made more sense to try to get the bonus resources and use it in cases where I was trying to finish up resources and also get points over here. But I didn't find much value in the map. it seemed like you got more value out of scoring.
No, but
over
we
here.
were only
Our-
2
yeah.
points away.
Yeah, our points
so,
were pretty
I
close.
mean,
But I got most of mine from the buildings.
that's true. Where I didn't. I didn't really ever get enough gold. I'm more focused on,
Yeah.
and if I didn't get the row completion, I wouldn't have beat you.
Right. So,
but thank you so much for leaving
Yeah.
that last resource for me.
Oh, okay. I thought you were
really-
saying thank you for setting you up for the building discussion. So the other way you can score points in this is by building these buildings, and they also give you perks during the game. So for 2 goats, you can get an additional 2 gold anytime you generate gold, whether that be from a space on the board or whether that be from taking 6s or whatever your highest number is.
Yeah.
This next one over from the right is you pay 2 gold and a goat, and you get to move your person up here up to 2 spaces more or less than the dice space, which could be important because normally you have to pay gold if you want to alter that die roll, which you can do. You can pay gold to add another pip or take a pip away when you're moving. The next one is you can pay 4 gold and 4 goats, and you can add 1 to any resource production you get when you.
That's
do
what
one of
I
those.
needed.
That would have been beneficial for you, but it costs a lot. 4 gold and 4 goats.
Yeah.
Or you can pay 3 gold and 3 goats. So you get 3 victory points for every building you get, and that's what I did. I got 3 of the buildings, and I got 9 victory points from it.
Yeah. So, overall, this is a very straightforward game. It didn't take very long. So if you're looking for a filler game, it's not bad. I think there are other roll and writes that I prefer.
Yeah, we're kind of spoiled by Hadrian's Wall, which is not really a roll and write per se, but it's darn close.
Well, even like Welcome To, I would have preferred to play Welcome
But
To.
that's, again, not a roll and write. You're doing cards and flipping in that one. If you want a true roll and write, then you're going to have dice involved. So,
I
that would
think
be
you're
like.
just being picky.
No, just try to be fair. This is a true roll and write. When we look at true roll and writes, this would be comparing to like the Imperial Settlers one, which
I feel like this is kind of on the same level. To be quite honest with you, I don't think it's any worse or better than Imperial Settlers.
Yeah,
maybe Imperial Settlers.
I think Imperial Settlers has a little more to it than this.
Yes, I think because the Tetris piece up top, but if not for that, I think it'd probably be very similar.
I don't recall the Tetris piece. So.
Remember, you draw the buildings in certain shapes based on the size.
Oh, you're talking about when you play with the expansion, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I actually remembered a game, remembered what it was called, and the mechanism that I'm talking about, and I remembered more than Randy. I think I deserve an extra point.
You already won.
I know, that's why it doesn't matter, and I deserve it anyway.
Mm.
But to give it a score, what's the score?
I'm probably at probably about a 6 on it. It's a quick game, so that's why it gets a bonus point. Otherwise, it'd be probably a 5. I didn't find it spectacularly interesting. It was pretty quick and pretty dull to me. But again, I'm spoiled by Hadrian's Wall, so.
So, is this a turn in or a?
It has its purpose for a quick game if you need something on the fly or if you're traveling. This is a really good throw in your box or suitcase type game.
That's true, and it's not. Yeah, plus it doesn't take a lot of room, so you could play this in some tight spaces. So overall, okay, it has its purpose. It has its place. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed hanging out with us, and hopefully you'll come and join us again. Bye. Robert, tell us more about the.
You forgot your husband's name.
No, I'm used to saying Robert.
Wow.
Like literally, that's what I always say. I have a script in my head, and I always say,
"Wow,
Robert, tell us more about the game."
I can't believe you just called me Robert.
I can't believe it either.
Now this is going at the end.
All right. Robert will get a kick out of that. You actually should. All right. So, Randy, tell us more about the game.
We're not starting over from the beginning?
No.
Okay.
Well, fine. I'll start over from the beginning. For you.
Because it makes it easier. I don't have to edit so much. Unless you screw up again. Call me somebody else's name once again.
George. Randall. Actually,
that's my name. No. Did you forget my name? You thought my name was Sven?